Welcome back to Soccerphiles Canada. I'm Kevin, and today we are updating our past, present, and future mediacast. We're recording this on May 20th, 2024. And here we are going to cover what we've recently done, including some things we didn't do, and what we will be doing over the course of this year. In the fall 2023 version, we announced ambitious plans. We intended to cover the Asian and African Cups, both of those in January of 2024, and we did. For each, we did a series on the groups and teams for the Cups, and then a team-by-team player podcast for each of the teams. And those are still available for download on YouTube and at captivate.fm for the podcast version. We also outlined an ambitious plan for covering World Cup 2026 qualification for each region. We even started that with a preview of the preliminary round of Asian qualifying, and that gave us a chance to look at the weaker teams in the region, which we were excited to do because they are rarely covered in the media. And those too are still available on YouTube and at captivate.fm. However, we were not able to go beyond that. Connor went and had a second child, and I became busy kind of adding information from the African and Asian Cups into the files that we use as a basis for these previews, and in preparing for the two upcoming tournaments. We still harbor plans for World Cup qualifying. Later in this mediacast, we'll outline the structure of qualification in each region and talk about how we intend to cover them. But our immediate attention is on the two upcoming tournaments. After all, this is called the International Soccer Preview. So those two upcoming tournaments are the 2024 Euro Cup and the 2024 Copa America, which will be played in the USA and involve 6 teams from the CONCACAF region. Both of those tournaments start in June 2024. So for each, we will be doing our usual set of media casts. The Euro Cup in our numbering system is Series 25. 6 media casts will cover each of the 6 groups, and they are due to come out in mid to late May. And each of those will look at the 4 teams within the group and then comparison to each other and some discussion on how we think the teams will do. We'll also be doing a series of media casts on the players of each of the 24 teams. That's also Series 25, and that is due to come out in June. It'll be divided into 2 parts. Part 1 will be an outline of the candidates available to the squad, and we categorize them into their likelihood of being part of the team. So we categorize them into definite, likely, possible but unlikely, seemingly off the squad, and definitely off the squad. Part 2 of the player series will come out when the rosters are published. So in Part 2, we're going to compare what we outlined in Part 1 to the actual squad that was selected. And it's much the same for Copa America. That will be Series 28 in our numbering system, and it'll also come out in mid to late May, or at least the groups and teams media casts will. So there will be 4 of those for each of the groups, and the 4 teams in each group. And then there will be a separate set for the players of each of the 16 teams in 2 parts, just as described for the Euro Cup. And that players version is also due out in June. After those 2 cups are completed, there is a break in international tournaments, so we intend to return to World Cup qualifying. However, we think it's a bit too ambitious to cover the histories of each team, as we have been doing. So rather, we'll be doing a progress report on each region midway through qualifying. And that begins here with a look at where qualifying is currently at in each of the regions. And we'll also spell out the sometimes confusing qualification procedure for each of the regions. Okay, now we'll proceed according to the series numbers that we have laid out for our media casts here. So Series 21 is World Cup qualifying for the Asian region. 46 teams in the region compete for 8 direct spots and 1 half spot. The half spot is an intercontinental playoff where they play a team from another region. We did cover the preliminary round. That was a set of 10 home games and 10 away games among the 20th weakest teams in the region. So the 10 winners advanced to round 2, where they joined the top 26 teams who received a bye. So round 2 was those 36 teams, 10 emerging from the preliminary round and the 26 who received a bye. And they were divided into 9 groups of 4, with the top 2 advancing from each group. That's currently underway, taking place from November 23rd, and it will end in June 2024. And by the way, I should say that the mediacasts for the preliminary round are available on YouTube and at captivate.fm if you want to kind of learn a little more about those weak teams. Anyway, the next round will be 18 teams. So this is round 3 for the Asian region, 18 teams, and they are divided into 3 groups of 6. That runs from September 2024 to June 2025, and the top 2 in those groups of 6 each qualify automatically for the World Cup. However, we did say there were 8.5 spots available, so still 2.5 spots are available after round 3, and it gets a bit complicated here, so bear with me. The first playoff round will be 6 teams. That will be the 3rd and 4th place finishers from round 3. Again, that was 3 groups, so that makes up 2 times 3. 6 teams. So those 6 teams are divided into 2 groups of 3, and the winner of each advances directly to the World Cup. Those games will take place in October 2025. Finally, the 2nd place finisher in each group playoff, will play off for the half spot, the Intercontinental Playoff spot in November 2025. And by the way, there are graphics on the YouTube version that help to clarify all this. And you will be happy to hear that the Asian region is the most complex qualifying system. So we have done that, and the rest will be a bit easier by comparison. Let's move on to the Series 22. That is the big South American group. The 10 teams in the region all play each other home and away. And that actually started in September 2023 and runs to September 2025. So that was actually the first World Cup qualifying to begin. While in previous Cups it had been the top 4 teams qualifying automatically, excuse me a second. It had been the top 4 teams qualifying automatically, with the 5th place finisher earning an Intercontinental Playoff spot. Because of the expanded World Cup this time, there will be now 6 teams automatically qualifying, and it will be the 7th place team earning an Intercontinental Playoff spot. So currently they're about a third of the way through the schedule. 6 of the 18 match days have been played. All right, moving on, it is Series 23, African or CAF qualifying. Africa is granted 9.5 spots, again the half spot being an Intercontinental Playoff, and 54 teams are competing here, and so those 54 are divided into 9 groups of 6. The winner of each group qualifies directly for the World Cup. Games in the African region have started. They started in November 2023, and that round runs until October 2025. The 4 best second place finishers vie for a single Intercontinental Playoff spot. That World Cup qualification in Africa will be broken up by the 2025 African Cup. The qualification for which has already started, actually. Preliminary rounds were played in May of 2024, and the main set of rounds will be September to November 2024, and the finals will be taking place probably in the summer of 2025, although the actual date is not decided. We'll talk, basically repeat that a bit later. Let's move on to Series 2024. That is World Cup qualifying for the CONCACAF region. That's the North and Central American region. That part of the world is hosting. So USA, Mexico, and Canada qualify automatically as hosts. So only 3 direct spots are available for the other teams. A preliminary round involving just 4 teams took place in December 2023, and the 2 winners of that joined 28 teams that received a bye from the preliminary round, making up 30 teams, and those 30 will be divided into 6 groups of 5, and they will play all of their games in June 2024 and then in June 2025. The top 2 from each of the 6 groups will move to round 3. Those 12 teams are divided into 3 groups of 4. The top team in each group advances to the World Cup, and this round begins in September 2025, but the dates have not been finalized. Also, the 2 second best finishers advance to an intercontinental playoff. So I should have mentioned at the beginning that the CONCACAF region received 3 direct spots and also 2 half spots. So 2 of the teams will advance to an intercontinental playoff. All right, Series 26 is World Cup qualifying for the European teams. 54 or 55 teams are competing for 16 spots. I say 54 or 55 because it's not clear whether Russia is being allowed to play or whether they're still being punished over the invasion of Ukraine. Anyway, teams will be divided into groups of 4 or 5. Those teams that reach the Nations League final will be placed in a group of 4 so that they have time to play the Nations League final rounds. The qualification begins in March 2025 for the 5-team groups and in September 2025 for the 4-team groups. And all groups will be completed by November 2025. After that, there will be further playoff rounds for March 2026. That's a bit complicated because it's based on Nations League, and we won't get into the details of that, but a further round of playoffs in March 2026 for the European region. Okay, Series 27 is World Cup qualifying for the often ignored OFC, or the Oceanic region. This region has received only a half spot in World Cups to this point, meaning that the overall winner in the region has just advanced to an intercontinental playoff. However, because the World Cup is expanding to 48 teams, the Oceanic region now receives 1.5 spots. So they get 1 direct spot in the World Cup and 1 intercontinental playoffs. 11 teams are in the region competing for these spots, and the first of 3 rounds is a preliminary round among the 4 lowest ranked teams, and that's to be played in September, or to be played in September 2024. Only 1 of those 4 teams will emerge to join the 7 others in round 2, making up 8 teams for round 2. And 2 groups of 4 will play in October and November 2024, and the top 2 finishers will advance to round 3. Round 3 will take place in March 2025, with each team playing each other once. The winner advances directly to the Cup, and the second place finisher in that 3rd round goes on to an intercontinental playoff. Okay, Series 27 then, the Oceanic region. Series 28 is the Copa America 2024, the actual tournament. So again, we won't discuss that tournament here. And then looking a bit further ahead, Series 29 will probably be a look at the African Cup 2025 qualification campaign. And it may actually come out earlier than some of the World Cup qualifying update mediacasts. So as we mentioned above, qualification for African Cup 2025 began in March 2024 with the preliminary round. The main qualifying will be done quickly from September to November 2024. But the tournament itself is not scheduled. They are trying to move it to the summertime, which they've tried to do in Africa before, only to find that it was too hot. But it does seem that they'll be aiming for the summer of 2025 here, rather than the January tournament that they usually do. Also, looking further ahead, in the summer of 2025, there will be another Gold Cup, but we haven't really planned out those African Cup finals and Gold Cup finals yet. So we will just mention them here and give more details on that, because we'll probably be doing a past, present and future podcast in the fall here, where our plans will be more set. Okay, that's it for now, our past, present and future. Stay tuned as we release mediacasts over the next 6 to 9 months. The most immediate ones will be for the Euro Cup in 2024, June 2024, and the Copa America in June 2024. So you can expect both groups and teams mediacasts, and mediacasts on the players of each of the teams in those two tournaments. All right, we hope you enjoy your soccer,